Are you or were you worried about an unplanned pregnancy? Much can occupy your mind at this time of your life. There is something more painful than giving birth to a child, and that's not giving birth. Women who have aborted now have a new hope. For help in healing on post-abortion issues or for more information, contact the Office of Pro-Life Apostolate at the Catholic Diocese of Lafayette. Call 337-261-5607.
We're here today to ask people about marriage.
For starters, what's the best thing about being married?
Who I get to stay married to.
This person.
Having a companion.
Do you think your marriage is good for more than just the two of you?
Oh, sure, and it'll affect generations after us.
The energy we give out in our home, I think, spreads out to other people.
Sort of stabilizes your whole community. It's a cornerstone of a society, right?
Want to improve your marriage? For ideas, go to foryourmarriage.org and message from the Catholic Church.
Thank you for joining us. It's hurricane season, and we would like to open this program with a prayer written in 1957 by the then Bishop of Lafayette, Jules B. Jamard, after he experienced the effects of Hurricane Audrey. It's the prayer for the protection from hurricanes and storms.
O God, Master of this passing world, hear the humble voices of your children. The Sea of Galilee obeys your order and returns to its former quietude. You are still the master of land and sea. We live in the shadow of a danger over which we have no control. The Gulf, like a provoked and angry giant, can awake from its seeming lethargy, overstep its conventional boundaries, invade our land, and spread chaos and disaster. During this hurricane season, we turn to you, O loving Father. Spare us from past tragedies, whose memories are still so vivid, and whose wounds seem to refuse to heal with the passing of time. O Virgin Star of the Sea, our beloved Mother, we ask you to plead with your Son in our behalf, so that spared from the calamities common to this area, and animated with the true spirit of gratitude, we will walk in the footsteps of your divine Son to reach heavenly Jerusalem, where a stormless eternity awaits us. Amen.
Let's hope and pray this hurricane season we are all safe. Welcome to Catholics Today. I'm Trista Littell, and today I will be speaking with Carol Maynard with the Diocese of Lafayette. This is the first of a three-part series where we will be speaking about a program called Come to the Well, sponsored by the Diocese of Lafayette in partnership with Hospice of Acadiana. This is a bereavement program. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you, Trista. It's great to be here.
Well, we're going to be sharing highlights of Come to the Well, a day of prayer and reflection for those who've lost loved ones. The day began with a beautiful prayer service and a reflection and living scripture that came from the Gospel of John, chapter 4, of the Samaritan woman at the well, portrayed by Jeff Aycock and Tina Hebert. Now, Carol, there are those that wonder why we would select the story of the Samaritan woman and how that relates to grief.
Well, in the story of the Samaritan woman, Jesus is at the well and he's offering her his living waters of faith, hope, and love. And just like the Samaritan woman at the well was vulnerable and she was open to knowing the truth at whatever the cost, we too, in our pain and our loss and our sorrows, are searching for answers and for meaning. Why, Lord, did this have to happen? And I can remember when my husband, Deacon Leonard Maynard, died, it just made no sense to me. But Jesus was there, and he still is there at the well of mercy, giving us his love, his mercy, and his healing.
Jesus had to pass through Samaria. His journey brought him to a Samaritan town named Shechem, near the plot of land which Jacob had given to his son Joseph. This was the site of Jacob's well. The hour was about noon, and Jesus, tired from his journey, sat down to rest beside the well. In a short time, a Samaritan woman came to draw water from the well.
She came to the well all alone, sad and weary in pain. Every road she had taken wound back to the same place again. If only you knew, if only you knew, the water I'm offering you is source and spirit, life and dream, the mystic water of Jesus the Lord.
Woman, fetch me a drink from this well.
You are a Jew. How can you ask me, a Samaritan and a woman, for a drink?
Boy, if only you recognized God's gift and who it is that is asking you for a drink. You would have asked him instead, and he would have given you living water.
She chided the man at the well, saying, "You have no bucket, no cord." With love, he observed her and gave the hope she'd never had before. If only you knew, if only you knew, the water I'm offering you is source and spirit, life and dream, the mystic waters of Jesus the Lord. Sir, you have no bucket, and this well is deep. Where do you expect to get this living water? Surely you do not pretend to be greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us this well and drank from it with his daughters, his sons, and his flock.
Whoever drinks this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks the water that I provide will never thirst again. That water will become a fountain in them, leading up to provide eternal life. Never thirst again. Be no longer poor. Drink this water I offer you. Then you'll thirst no more. No more.
Sir, could I have this living water so that I might not thirst again?
Go, my daughter. Call your husband.
I have no husband.
You speak the truth, for you have had 5 husbands, and the man you're with now is not your husband.
Sir, I can see you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain. But you Jews, you believe that you worship in Jerusalem.
The time is coming. The time is now. When we are all called to worship the Father together in spirit and in truth.
Something is happening. It's as if I can believe that God could love me. Even me. Come. See the man who told me everything about my life. If only you knew. If only you knew the water I'm offering you is source and spirit, life and dream. The mystic water of Jesus alone.
Well, that message was certainly conveyed by our 3 presenters, Bishop Douglas Desatel, Lori McGrew with Maddie's Footprints, that shared her story of journey and of loss. And then we had Dr. Camille Pavey Claiborne, who is the author of Dying in God's Hands and Purses and Shoes for Sale. But today we're going to hear from Lori McGrew with Maddie's Footprints, where she shares her story of grief and loss as she continues to honor Maddie's memory by sharing her story and giving hope, help, and resources to others who had similar losses. So let's go to the living scripture, followed by Lori McGrew with Maddie's Footprints.
Good morning. Thank you so much to Trista and Carol for inviting me to be here today. It is always an honor to have the opportunity to talk a little bit about our story. Our journey began in October of 2008. We found out we were expecting our first baby, and as most parents, we were very excited. I'm kind of a crazy planner, so immediately we started signing up for labor and delivery classes, newborn care. I had no idea what it was going to take to be a mother, so I wanted to be sure that we were ready and prepared in every way. We started shopping, all the normal things that you do, get the nursery ready. We found out that we were having a girl. We named her Madeline Noel, and we were hoping to call her Maddie for short. And then when I was 8 months pregnant, we went to just a routine ultrasound. As a first time, I guess, young mom, very naive, ultrasounds were supposed to be fun and exciting and an opportunity to see your baby again. So we were a little bit blindsided when the doctor said something wasn't quite right with Madeline. She had an abnormal amount of fluid in her brain and a bilateral cleft lip. And so the doctor said, I'm really not sure what this means, but he was concerned enough to refer us to a specialist, which we wouldn't see for 2 days later. And during those 2 days, Travis and I have absolutely no medical background. And so once again, trying to plan, we wanted to be prepared for what the specialist might tell us. So we did everything they told us not to do. We Googled and tried to come up with our own, diagnosis of our baby, and even ways of, if it's this, then we can do this. And, just trying to research anything and just be prepared for what may come. And so we went to the specialist appointment, and again, we're blindsided. Our doctor said, he confirmed the abnormalities that the other doctor found, and he mentioned that her heart wasn't formed correctly, and she had clenched fists that weren't able to open, and immediately he said, these are all markers for trisomy 18. Well, this was not one of the things that came up on Google, and so we had no idea what that meant. And he said, it's a chromosome disorder that is not compatible with life. And so at that moment, again, just that was not one of the options. That had never crossed our minds. We were expecting to maybe deal with a kid with special needs, and we could get through that, but we weren't quite sure that we could get through a child that didn't survive a full life. So from that moment on, things changed of how we viewed the pregnancy, took full advantage of every single moment we had with Madeline. We took maternity pictures, which is something I probably would have never done had we not received this diagnosis. We read to her more often. Every move, every kick we felt was just that much more precious. And at the same time, even though the doctors told us, it's kind of a miracle that Maddie is still thriving in utero, but she's probably not going to make it once you deliver her. But as a mother, very hopeful that she defied these odds so far. Why wouldn't we expect her to do the same? So we researched, how to deal with a child with special needs, what special needs may become, and at the same time, we also prepared for her funeral, knowing that if we had any time with her, we wanted to be prepared in every single way. And we just had so many questions, and truly that was when our grief journey began. Even though Maddie was very well alive in my tummy, our grief journey started there. And just when you have those hopes and dreams for your child and you know that it may not be what you expected, it was just a very challenging thing, and we had so many questions, and really not a whole place to turn, not a lot of places to turn, not a lot of people to ask, what did you do for this? How did you feel about this? How do you plan? And Madeline did great. She lasted full term. A few days before my due date, my blood pressure was extremely high, and the doctors recommended that I be induced. Waiting room was filled with friends and family, waiting patiently for Madeline, who was not quite ready. So day 2, we started again, and it just took her a while. She came in her time. And I guess, in our vision, we had, that the room would be filled with doctors trying to resuscitate, trying to do anything we can to make her survive. But God had a different plan for her. And on June 3rd, she was born directly into heaven. And the peace in that room was so beautiful. It's not what we had hoped for, but we were so grateful that God had that plan for her. We were content to know that all she knew was love. She never suffered, she never had pain, and there was so much comfort in knowing that. And all of our friends and family came into the room, which is again something I hadn't thought about before. We acknowledged that it might be a little weird for our friends and family to come in and see a baby who wasn't breathing. But we invited them to come in, and they all came in and acknowledged her as our baby. And that was huge and pivotal for our grief journey. We took her handprints, her footprints, we held her. We took pictures with her with big smiles, locks of her hair. And it was truly beautiful, special, and we had that opportunity to do everything we wanted to do with Madeline. A few days later, we had a funeral service where, once again, we were just overwhelmed with the support. Hundreds of people were there, and we were so grateful of not only the support to us, but that acknowledgement that our baby was a baby, her life mattered, and that we were hopeful that she would be remembered. Just as we knew we would remember her, we wanted other people to remember. And again, that was just huge for our grief journey. I felt like it gave us the hope to move forward and becoming at peace with it. The next few weeks, we quickly learned, a lot of people didn't want to speak to me. They looked at me like, I don't know what to say to her. She just lost the baby. And so they wouldn't say anything. But I wanted to talk about Madeline. So I made sure that I talked about Madeline in every chance I got. And then I realized people started sharing their stories with me. And so I thought, why am I just now hearing these stories? Why are people being quiet about their babies? They were babies, they had life. I love what Carol said earlier, that's the most important part, I think, of grief is sharing your story. And so I was gonna share my story, and I wanted people to, we knew that a few months go on, people move on, but I didn't want that to be it for Madeline. And so we thought, where do I go from here? And again, looking for answers from other people who had experienced it. There was just nobody here in our community that we could relate to. We weren't sure where to turn. So we decided pretty quickly that we wanted to start an organization. We wanted her name to live on, and so we called it Maddie's Footprints. The biggest part of this organization we wanted to do was raise awareness in our community. At the time, again, just not being familiar, not really understanding how many people are affected, our original goal was to help about 5 to 10 families per year, because we figured that this really wasn't something that was common. We wanted that safe place to talk openly about our feelings and answer those questions that we had. We wanted to be able to put families together knowing that they had experienced the same loss and that they could provide hope and help and healing in their journey. And another big component of Maddie's was, our friends, our family got together, unbeknownst to us, and paid for Madeline's funeral. That was a huge, huge burden lifted, and of course we didn't want to accept it, but the way my parents said it was, we can't take the pain, but we can do this. And so I thought that how awesome and amazing that we were given that gift. Let's pay that forward to other families who probably don't have families that can help them. What do they do? Are they able to provide a service that they would like for their baby? And the answer was no. And so we got our board of directors and talked to medical professionals and funeral service providers, and we came up with some really great programs to be able to help these families and guide them in their direction and let them know, what to do in this situation, and know that we were there for them. A big part of it was wanting to keep that memory alive forever. So we started Footprints Forever, which is our annual 5K It's an absolutely beautiful day of celebration of life. The families that we serve are infants up to 1 year of age. So none of the families we have that we help, their babies didn't have a birthday party. And so it was important to me to make this uplifting. Let it be a birthday party, let it be a celebration, an opportunity for these families to, year after year, ask people to come out and remember and honor their babies. And the other big component was starting a bereavement group, again, to help, I guess, make a community amongst these families to where they know that they can come and get support. It's a safe place to talk about all of those feelings that we have, whether it's anger, hurt, guilt. You know, how do we answer those difficult questions like, how many kids do you have? That's something I hear time and time again. Some people hear news early, like we did. We're able to help guide those people to what is to potentially come their way. And some people go in for that ultrasound or their just checkup and there's no heartbeat. And so they don't have the time to prepare. So we try to guide them quickly and give them those tools. Some have twins where one survives and one dies. Some have very early miscarriages and don't feel that their babies are validated. And so all of those things are something that we can help them with, answering those difficult questions. When will I know it's right to have a baby again? Will I ever have a baby again? I don't know that I could ever go through this again. Feeling like a different person. And, you know, I can say for myself that I definitely am a different person because of Madeline. But 8 years later, I'm at peace. Do I think about Madeline every single day? Absolutely. But I have found such comfort in knowing that we are surrounded by so many people. Just since 2010, we've helped 900 families in Acadiana that have suffered this loss. It is unimaginable how many people this happens to. And so it's healing to know that we have other people. We've learned from them. It's given me a way to see life differently. I have 2 other beautiful, healthy girls, and I say all the time that I think I've learned from Madeline how to become a better mom to those kids. And those kids know Maddie. We talk about her openly. She is part of the family. And so I'm at a place now where we can help provide that hope to someone who has a recent loss. And then they're in the thick of this. Will I ever move on? How do you survive this? So I commend each of you today because I know how difficult it can be to come to a retreat like this. I think it takes a lot. So I commend you for being here. And I hope that you find some kind of peace and healing throughout today. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Please tune again for parts 2 and 3 of this 3-part series on Come to the Well, a day of reflection for those who've suffered the loss of a loved one.